All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Jorge's Isolation Podcast. I hope everybody is doing well. We've had some big changes in our country. Winter is in full effect. Vaccines are being handed out, and I think we have a new president. Is what I'm hearing these days. We'll see how this goes. I wish him the best of luck. We need some good stuff happening in the next couple of years. But aside from politics and any crazy stuff like that, I have one of my dearest friends joining me today, Mr. Ian Sample. Ian and I met back in 2014 at Equinox. And yes, it's another one of my friends from the gym joining me because all my friends there from that gym are just amazing people. And, you'll hear me say it over and over again, how amazed I am by my coworkers from that experience I had at Equinox. They're not your typical meatheads. Ian was a former college football player. He's a writer. He's a hell of a producer, a hell of a writer. I got to also go back and say that, and an amazing friend. And I am so glad that we're talking today, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. I was looking forward to this, regardless of the podcast and being on. I was like, I get to talk to Jorge. I haven't really I get to see you too. I get to see you and talk
right?
to you. And we've always had, man, from the talks in the Equinox lobby, just shooting the shit about whatever creative stuff, where we wanted to be, and it's good to be here. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely, man. Like I just remember when I first started working at Equinox, there was this kid that would walk in with some big hair and crutches. Oh, you didn't have big hair at that point. You had crutches though. You had just had surgery, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I've always just had surgery.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's crazy.
But did I have? I don't know if I had the long hair. I might have had the fro then. I might have been.
No, you didn't. You had it buzzed, not as short as you have it now. I remember that. But then you let it grow out because we did some art. Like we did some art that Viet was on a few episodes ago, and he asked me, "Are you ever worried that your daughter might find the stuff that you've done?" And I'm like, no. I mean, I'm probably going to do far worse. That'll embarrass her.
There you go.
What I'm referring to is a little sketch we did called Sirloin. I should post a link down there. Let's get some views on that. Let's get them some views on that. Like, that was just I think it's actually, I've had 1, 2, 3, 4 people now that were in that sketch. No, 5, because Ben did the narration.
Yeah, you've had him on the show.
Yeah, so I had Ben. We talked about the Twilight Zone. We had Jared on a few episodes ago. Carrie, Viet. Yeah, now I need to get Stan and Q.
Yeah, you need to. Yeah, and we're Stan's still in New York, and Q's in San Diego. I'm pretty sure. San Diego.
Yeah. He's doing some fitness stuff and staying in shape. How do you all stay lean year round? Like, I don't get it. Like, I haven't seen you in like more than a year, almost 2 years. And you're still lean, and I'm fatter than ever. I'm fat and sassy.
I've been blessed with when I get depressed, I just stop eating. So, 2020 has been helpful. I know some people get depressed and they eat their feelings. No, I just stop eating, and that really leans me out.
I don't stop eating with either. Whether I'm happy or depressed, I kind of just I eat a lot. But how's LA? I hear a lot about LA, and this is one of the things about the podcast and the world, and I don't want to quote Trump, but the fake news media about these representations about what's happening in these cities. If you're living in small town Texas, I remember all the stuff that was happening during the protests with Black Lives Matter in New York. And, in the news down here, people were saying it looked like the Warriors, New York looked like the New York of the 70s, just graffiti all over the trains. And I talked to everybody in New York and people on the podcast, and they're like, it's fine. It's New York. It looks normal. Like when you left it a year ago. And I was like, exactly. It's what I thought. And I hear that LA, you hear the flight from LA to Texas or Nevada is happening. Is it that bad in LA? Because LA is one I don't know about. I know New York isn't that bad, but LA, I hear it's getting a little tent city-ish.
I mean, as far as like the homeless population, are we
Mhm.
talking about, or, I mean,
Everything. I just like everything.
yeah,
I don't know. Like there's a lot of opinions about what's happening in LA.
it's weird, man. I don't, I have such a, I think, bad measure on the city in general, because ever since lockdown happened, it's very much like, I mean, I'm kind of like introverted in the sense that I don't go out a lot. I don't do
Mhm.
whatever LA things are. I don't really do them. Just like, you know, living in New York, I wasn't doing New York things. I was
Yeah.
just working and then in my room writing,
Yeah.
or just hanging with friends. So man, I've had the same. I feel like for about a year now, I've just been in isolation in my room, and then I'll try to exercise, I'll do my writing, and I'll meet select friends. So everything, I mean, feels like, honestly, like shut down. It's been shut down for a year. As far as like COVID, I know like it's one of the epicenters of COVID and things like that. And one of my friends, he's an anesthesiologist at Cedar Sinai,
Mhm.
and right in West Hollywood, and he says like, yeah, it's inundated with people, but it's the same. It's the 65 and older, and it's the people with comorbidity. So you're
Yeah.
not necessarily, those aren't the people that I interact with
Yeah.
necessarily. So everything, I mean, everything seems just quieter, shut down. But I mean, my pocket of friends are still trying to just do what
Yeah.
they're doing. So
Yeah.
I don't know, but it's just weird. I don't know what, you know. I've kind of adapted to this very isolated life, and I'm not saying I've adapted in the most positive way, because I
Yeah.
think I'm slowly going insane, and
Yeah. Yeah.
that says a lot for someone who likes their alone time. Where now I'm like, I don't know
Yeah.
if this is how I feel. I don't know if you feel like this. Isolation has, I've enjoyed it for, because I do like me time.
Mhm.
Um, uh, and at the same time, like when I'm out and talking to people, it's like, oh my gosh, I know I need this, but at the same time, I'm like, but that's a lot of energy to give. It's like this weird, like, I'm comfortable with parts of it, and yet I need interaction with people, and I'm
Yeah.
finding myself needing it, and at the same time, like shying away from it, which
Yeah.
just I don't even know. Yeah.
Well, for me, I have always been a homebody. So I know you remember like there's always like some sort of party or anything. I probably would never show up. If there's like
Mm-hmm.
more than 10 people, I probably won't show up.
Yeah.
I don't know. I get very like not self-conscious, but I get just very like agoraphobic in big groups.
Mm-hmm.
Like New York would make me crazy in that way, but I've adapted to that. But in terms of like me and my private time, like I'm an only child, and I spent a lot
Mm-hmm.
of time alone growing up. My mom worked, she was a teacher, but then she also taught night school to make ends meet. And so, she did everything she could for me, but I did have a lot of time alone. And I guess
Mm-hmm.
I embraced it. Whereas other kids, they would act out. I embraced it. And then that changes when you get married. And your
Yeah.
private time is just like it's gone. Like you're sharing that time with someone else. And once you get established with that, then a kid comes along, and
Mm-hmm.
any private time you ever had is
Mm-hmm.
gone, 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 gone. And one of the best things, and I think it's a blessing in disguise, is that we moved when we did. Like we moved to South
Mm-hmm.
Texas before any of this pandemic stuff happened. We moved in December, and we're not in an apartment. We're
Yeah.
in a house that's about, this is just telling you like what you could get more bang for your buck in South Texas. Like we've got, almost 3,000 square feet to work with
Yeah.
in our house, and we're
Yeah.
paying $1,500 less than what we
Yeah.
did in New York. And
Yeah.
it's in a beautiful neighborhood. So my
Yeah.
daughter and I, we go for a walk every morning, and
Yeah.
nobody's out because nobody walks. Although during the pandemic, apparently everyone picked up biking. Like everyone has a
Yeah.
bicycle. Like the bike, if you had a bike shop and you were like going under, pandemic saved your business because they're on
Yeah.
back order like crazy. But we have a park, like literally, like just you go up the block and down the block, and the park is right there. It's just like a 2-minute walk.
Is
And
it the
so,
park in the trailer that I saw in your
yes, yeah,
teaser?
yeah,
Yeah, that's dope.
yeah.
That's great. Yeah.
We have that there. But we also have just like it's just ease. I mean, we have a backyard, we have just
Yeah.
space. So if we need to like get away, or if I need to do something, like Rosa could take the baby to the other room, and
Yeah.
or Rose is able to work. If we were there at the apartment during the pandemic, Rosa couldn't work, because we couldn't get phone calls in our apartment in Jersey City.
Geez.
We could never receive phone calls. I missed so many phone calls, and so did she. And if she was trying to work and being as busy as she's been, with a toddler, forget it, man. Forget it. So, but with that being said, and the isolation, it's crazy because we moved to an area, because you asked me in the text last week if, we have groups of friends. It's like, yeah, we haven't seen them. Like my best friend Patrick, like you met Patrick. We had like all these big plans, like when I moved down, because he's married, he has 2 girls, and I'm having another baby, and it's like, yeah, we can finally go hunting, we can go shoot guns, we can, just not even do that, just like go hang out. And COVID put just a nail in that coffin. And even with parents, it's just like we've had several COVID scares, and the people you would think you'd see like every day, we don't, or every week, we don't. And it's been kind of weird. Luckily, we, the vaccines being distributed down here pretty rapidly. So we know a lot of people.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
No, that's definitely one thing I think helps. About. Like, I think about the quality of life, and I'm so happy that I'm not in New York for this, because, well, one, you knew your apartment. Apartment.
Yeah.
Oh my, because I already, listen, out here, I feel like I'm in I'm a pretty large studio, like separate kitchen, separate bathroom, separate foyer, like things like that. It's a pretty big, spacious place, and it's about $1,000 cheaper than the place I had in New York.
It's nuts.
Like the room I was in was like, I don't know what a Bangkok prison looks like, but I feel like that's the size of it.
And just to give you all, if you're watching and listening, his room, when I first met him, your room, like you lived just in your room. It was a 2-bedroom apartment. In the other room, you had roommates. But the first,
it was actually a 1-bedroom converted.
Converted
1-bedroom converted to 2. Yeah.
And it was just your mattress and a TV with a desk under it, and no space at all. It was like maybe like 10 square feet.
No, it was terrible. So I mean, I can't imagine. I would go insane. But I think that's the thing that I think a lot of people are assessing over this pandemic is man, like space and quality of life. Because I went back to help my mom move a couple of weeks, so I went back to the East Coast, and I was in my friend's 1-bedroom apartment. I was in my friend's house, and you're talking about your house, and I'm thinking about, man, I need to live in a bigger space, and if I need to sacrifice my location, then I that's a priority, because boy, I'm going a little nuts in this studio where you can't and you have it's so important. And this is, I think, for any creative, right? Like we're talking about, like, creativity is such a sensitive, fragile thing that can be affected by so many things. And I think one of the things I'm really learning is that, if you have a place to compartmentalize your sleep and your eating and your work, then if you need to have that. And right now, that's definitely what I'm learning. So I envy you with a big house where you can kind of separate those things.
And like I said, we're very blessed, and fortunate that it's kind of like you can believe whatever you want. If you're religious, like I'm a religious person, and I felt like someone was watching out for us, and we moved at the right time. Or if you believe in the stars are just aligning, like this was the time to move. Whatever it was perfect timing. And we're really understanding what it's like, oh, you can make this much money in New York, and this is like how much you could have everywhere else making the same money. And we're not rich by any means, not even close, but it's amazing to see how far your paychecks go when it's not all going toward rent.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. Like, it blows my mind. And what I love about what's happening now is my big fear when we were moving, obviously, I don't know if I told you, was that I didn't know if I was going to truly act again. And I still feel that. That's just like, I mean, I'm an actor, I start feeling that the moment they say Jorge's wrapped, like when they say I'm wrapped, I feel like I'm never going to work again, and that just, it happens. And coming to South Texas, like, I don't know what the industry is like. I've already built up relationships there in New York with all the casting directors. Like, we knew each other. We were like already friends. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And coming to a region where I don't know what's happening. The last thing I knew about Texas before moving was that like Rick Perry screwed over the film industry, cutting all film tax credits. But apparently Abbott, whatever you want to say about him, he apparently got $50 million of tax credits before pandemic for the film industry. And it's getting better. And a lot of actors are actually making their way back to Austin. And you also have New Mexico on one side of Texas and then Louisiana on the other. And so I didn't know like what was going to happen with me. And luckily, like before the pandemic, it was like self-taping was still kind of new. I mean, it's been happening for a few years, but it's not as widespread. And I thought, man, like, I hope they can let me self-tape. Sure enough, dude, COVID made that mandatory. No one's going into casting offices now. So that helps. That helps like me mentally. But yeah, I feel you, man. There's always that doubt of, I don't know. I don't know if I'm ever going to work again.
And I say, I don't envy any creative because it's such a grind. And really, I think it's about, you know, figuring out your life aside from the creative part of it to get that in order to allow you to, you know, be successful in the thing that we love. But I do not envy actors in any way. Like I don't envy any writers either, but like at the end of the day, I know that every day, even listen, it's a thankless job and you have to put so many hours in that are unpaid and giving up your own time and whether it's your friendship or spend time with family, things like that, you just have to do it to work on the craft. But I do know that every day I can be working, I can be writing, I can be working on something.
Yeah.
And I think that's different for actors. Like there's only so many times you can maybe do your accent work or your monologues every day. Like at least like at the end of the day, I'm working on a product that I can eventually put out there or get produced or, you know, things like that, which is still so hard.
Here, the thing, I think I'm trying to like come to terms with, but it's also like, it seems so easy, but it's not, where people say you got to create your own work. And it's true. Like you can only do so much accent work or monologue work. And then it just becomes like, I feel like, what am I chasing here? And I have been taking classes and that's been helping a lot. Like I've been taking audition class. Jackie is actually in my class with me. And it's been helping me a lot. Like I could see the difference between pre-pandemic self-tapes and like, you know, once they started opening, like right before Christmas, I had 5 huge auditions, and out of those I had an offer, but I had to turn it down just because of COVID protocols. And, you know, it made me still feel like I got it. You know what I mean? But the thing is, like for writers, like, and actors at this point with COVID, I think it's about creating your own work. And if you can do it in a smart way, it'll get noticed, because that's what they're looking for. People who can save the studio's money and have good content that can sell. And, you know, I don't know, there's certain people who are really capitalizing on that. And then, you know, I just don't know if I have what it takes. Like I sent you something that I was working on, and I thought about just posting that on YouTube, but, you know, I'm like thinking like, what if I just thought about pitching it? What if I turn it into something more? And if nothing comes of it, I could just post it on YouTube. You know what I mean? You know, we've done stuff, and I think I learned a lot from our experiences. From Cage Birds, which I still have the shirt there. I should have worn that now. Yeah, I should have worn it.
You should have.
Yeah.
Jeez, I forgot about that.
I mean, we launched some careers there. we launched, you, at least yours did. mine's in the vault.
Well, and by in the vault, I think it means the vault that we can't ever open, right? Wasn't that because the drive, it's like we lost it.
Yeah, it's like the dude who has like $200 million in Bitcoin and forgot his password.
Yeah. And didn't we have it? Didn't we have it? Because listen, I think it was a pretty I think well-maintained production. I think we were pretty diligent with things. Didn't we have it on 2 drives? We didn't just have it on 1 drive, did we? We just had it on 1 drive.
We made a rookie mistake. It was just, and I think my computer broke it. I think it was my computer that did it, because my computer did it to another hard drive a year later.
Oh, really?
I lost a lot of stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
you know what it must have been then, because I know that it must have, we had it on OneDrive, but I definitely know I copied it, because I know once we had Chewy do whatever, I know he had it when we were doing the yearbook. I know I had my own drive, and I know Chewy had one.
Yeah.
So it must have been he was trying to transfer it over and work on it, and just he couldn't get off that one drive.
Yeah.
Man.
There was no information going through between the cables. And the project that we're talking about, is the Kings and Chronicles. So Ian and I, back in 2015, right? 2015, 16.
It could 2000. No, it must have been
15. It was 2015. Yeah. We got together. We started talking about creative stuff, and he had this idea for a web series. It was originally a pilot, and honestly, I still think it holds up really, really well. And I think it was one of those things where it's like, man, this guy can write, and on top of that, from writing, one of the things, and this is like, I had Shannon Spangler. You remember her? She was on, and on like the last episode, 2 episodes ago. And I was telling her,
she's out here too, right?
She's out in LA, man. Y'all should connect. She's involved with like so much stuff. And I was telling her, I was like, one of the things that, like, every time I'm around you, I always felt like I am the most unorganized person. And I'm sure you can attest to that. Like, I am so unorganized, and you, Ian, were the organized one in our group. And like, you like always had, everything down to a T. Like, you had the paperwork, like you did all that. And I'm like, man, like, this guy can produce. Like, you could tell this guy, he's organized. I'm self. I mean, I'm not. I don't have no ego. I'm awful when it comes to organization. Like, awful.
No, I mean, I don't know. I think. I mean, I didn't see it like that. I think whether that's the truth or not, I'm not sure. But I think we work well together. I think we complemented each other well as far as going into it. Similar vision, and my strengths might not have been your strengths, and your strengths weren't my strengths. So I thought it was like, because all the on-camera stuff, like, I don't want to do any of that stuff. I still don't. So that was really good. But that was such that really made us that broadened our network of people in New York. Dude, like that's definitely one benefit of no, it definitely did. Not only just learning how to produce, but like meeting people that fellow creatives and fellow actors and behind the or below the line people, like, Chewy and who else? Just so many people. I think it was really good. And I think it also made me realize, man, like, I think my weakness, and like you said, like, create your own content, and then when we did stuff with Tom on the Wall, we did other shorts like Sirloin that we were talking about earlier, made me realize, like, the part of the production of the experience of actually, like, how to gain traction and push it out there and gain a following. I'm not strong in that. And it made me realize, okay, well, let me stick with what I'm stronger at and then kind of navigate. Because, like, man, gaining a following in this environment is just, when there's just so much content that people are inundated with, like, that's the tough part. And you have to really look at, like, what avenue is going to be best suited for, I think, your skill set. Yeah. And it's definitely not necessarily mine.
No. And I think that whole experience, like, I'm very happy with Kings and Chronicles, because yes, we might've lost it. But we had, out of 2 projects, one went up successfully. And that's a success. You know what I mean? Also with Kings and Chronicles, it was almost a blessing in disguise, because I learned a lot, because that was the first thing I ever directed. And that was the first thing, like, I realized I need to not just be more organized, but just be more aware of what's going on around me, be a little bit more, like, vocal about what I want, and be more realistic about what I'm shooting. If we could go back to that, instead of shooting 5 episodes in 4 days, I would have shot.
was that what the time constraints were? Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the budget was like, we had like I don't know, like 1,500, $2,000 or nothing like that. Yeah. And that was like for food and like transportation. And like I think Chewy got like rented out some equipment. and we paid like Chewy and Fernando and Pierre, remember?
Yeah.
But like, if I could go back and do it, I would have just done one good short and really focused on that. Maybe get a little bit of special effect and just focus on one good short. And that was a rookie mistake on that end. And that also made me realize, you know what? There's a lot more to these scripts that I want to add. And I've turned that into about 60,000 words of short stories right now. So, the Kings and Chronicles is, you know, I'm doing rewrites right now. So I've had 5 or 6 that I've written. I just need to do like first drafts, and I just need to rewrite those. Then I want to add a couple more. But that's just one of those things that I learned about that process. And like, the thing is, like, when we started doing sketches, it's good practice, you know? And I honestly, at that point, I was thinking, I'm not going to expect anything to go viral at this point. Not because of the content, because dude, the content's gold. Like that morning roast was gold because someone, I think Chewy even posted a cartoon like on his Insta stories, and it was that exact thing. And he posted the morning roast right after that. And it's just like, we're onto something. You're onto something. And I remember even like regretting, like, man, like I remember I told you, I was like, I don't want that that terrorist one that we did on my IMDb. I was like, I don't care now, because if you look back at it, like, dude, it's funny. It's really funny. It's really funny. And
interview
it's like,
with ISIS.
Interview with ISIS. And like in this sketch, I'm playing a terrorist, and like we're interviewing Ben, and he's just like really questioning. He's like, do I really want to be in your terrorist organization? Like, what are the perks? Can we just change up the name a little bit? And like, and I'm thinking about, I was like, why was I even worried? It wasn't anything vulgar or anything like that. Like in retrospect, sirloin is a lot more riskier than that.
I mean, no, when you look at like the actual, because I think I had another actor, I think, in line for Ben's role that I remember closer. Yes. And he didn't want to do it because the content. But like when you really look at like what we're doing, we're making fun of a terrorist organization. There's like there's nothing wrong with that.
That was 2016, and the only reason why I know that time frame it was because your ISIS flag that you made, it had the letters, the Arabic letters, but it spelled out Donald Trump.
Oh,
do you remember that?
Wow. I can picture it now.
Details.
That's pretty good.
Easter eggs. I'm telling you.
That's crazy. Yeah, seriously.
You're like a little Ridley Scott there. Or
But you know, and I think that's what like that's what I gravitate. I mean, and that's why I love you and I love talking to you, because listen, I think in this industry, even as a person, nothing to do with the industry, is that you need to be able to, especially because there's going to be so many no's or so many times where like you're going to be, not to say rejected, but there's just life's not always going to go your way, and the industry is not always going to cater to you because it's indifferent towards you, right? But it's being able to grow from every experience, regardless if it's positive or negative. And man, that is so important to do, because like I said, it's a thankless, what we do is very thankless at times.
All the time.
You need to find a way of like, well, listen, I grew from that, or I learned this, or and then on top of that, I think it's important to celebrate the victories, no matter how small they are. It's like, oh, I finished writing a pilot, celebrate it, like enjoy it. Oh, you had it, like the fact that you had to turn down a job, a gig. Hey, that's a win, you know.
Well,
you got a gig.
I was so pissed that day. Because I was telling you before we started recording, is that Ana Pao, my daughter, she went through a sleep regression. She started learning how to climb out of her cage. So we were up that particular day. So that was Monday going into Tuesday. I was up from like 4 to 7, you know, it's just unexpected. And I'd gone to sleep at midnight because I was watching TV, because I was expecting my kid to be asleep because she'd been sleeping from 8:30 to 8:30. And then I get the call from my agent saying, you know, basically they wanted me to be an Austin local. And, you know, it's just COVID protocols were just different. And COVID protocols have changed the production, and it's also changed the budget for all productions. So much money has to go into COVID insurance now, and I understand it. And it sucked. And I was like, my agents and I, like, they already knew the answer, and they just told me, like, we don't want to talk for you, like, we don't want to make the decision for you, but what do you think? And I said exactly what they were gonna say anyway. And so I was pissed, but then I started thinking, like, man, that was the first offer I've had in 2 years. I still got it. And on that particular audition, I remember that night I had to prepare 7 pages for another audition that I focused more on. I put my attention on. I wasn't a focused moron, but sometimes I am just a moron. And then I kind of just did this one right after that. And I think those are the ones, like, when you just don't really like think much of is when they land. And that one landed. So I hope that continues, but you're right. Like, you got to learn from all these failures. Like you said, like, so many no's, so many failures. How many times did we post something and we got, like, I looked at our Cage Bird stuff and, like, Tom on the Wall stuff, and we're getting like 500 views. That was like from 5 years ago. After this, I want to see Sirloin get 15,000. I'm going to post a link on the bottom, and don't watch it in public. That's a warning.
It's also, man, so important that you have a community that believes in you, for sure. Because I tell you what, man, like, we don't talk as often as maybe we'd like to, but, like, whenever and I shit you not, whenever I'm writing something, whenever I'm having an idea, you and Andreas, I'm always, because, I mean, I have a history with you both. I've worked with you. I've seen your acting. Like, I always think, they could be perfect for this, or what role can I get them in there? Because like, hey, you're talented, and not like you need me to say it, but hey.
Well, thank you.
I'm always thinking of that. And Andreas is
mad talented too.
And the positive that came from the yearbook, the web series that we were talking about earlier that we produced, is that he won Best Actor at the New York City Web Fest for his role in the yearbook. So, man, that was such a highlight. I'm like, all right, good. That made it all worth it.
But that's one of those positives that we got out of this experience, is, like, I knew Andreas from grad school. I said, hey, I know a guy, and dude killed it. And then we also had, like, Tommy Dorfman in there. We had Kyle Scatliff in there, and, like, there's just, like, we made some careers. Let me just say that. We made some careers.
I don't think Kyle would have been on The Color Purple if
he wouldn't. Hamilton.
He wouldn't have been if it wasn't.
I mean,
for the yearbook.
I think they sent in that tape for his audition. Is the yearbook. And I mean, 13 Reasons Why. I'm come on, Selena Gomez saw that, and that's how Tommy's at like 1.10 billion followers.
We launched careers. We did, and now we're just the humble ones that are just modest and still working from at least my studio apartment.
I mean, I'm here in South Texas. Living the dream. Haven't worked in 2 years. It's funny how that works out, and it's good to see people succeed. It is. We joke around like that, but, like, I remember when Tommy, like, just, like, blew up, and on that one weekend with 13 Reasons Why, and it's just like, this does happen. Like, it's one of those stories, like, where people who just hit some great success, and more power to them. And the only thing I'm jealous of Tommy is, I don't care about the followers. I don't care, about the shows, is that he's connected to Cindy Crawford. She comments on his Instagram all the time because he's friends with her daughter. And I'm like, oh, wow. Growing up, Cindy Crawford was, like, my crush.
That was your crush,
like, yes. And, like, I'm a huge fan of Riverdale. He knows all the Riverdale people. It's like, that's cool. But Cindy Crawford is the only thing I'm like, I covet.
And and that's funny because so Cindy Crawford's a little older even for because we're the same age. Yeah, that's a little probably older for us to be like. That's going into maybe more of our parents' realm with Cindy.
I like them a little older.
Cindy Crawford, but same. You know who mine was? Kathy Ireland. Do you remember Kathy Ireland
from Necessary Roughness?
Yeah, Yep.
She was the first female college football kicker.
She was.
She set the president.
Kathy Ireland. So it's funny that Cindy was yours because that's a little older for our generation. And Kathy Ireland, she was a little older for us to be liking. But no, we older women. Yeah.
What is that song? Is like older women make beautiful lovers. It's an old country song.
Yeah. Well, I don't doubt it. I've never had an opportunity with Kathy Ireland, but I'm sure she would have been.
She had those beautiful eyes, amazing. Kathy Ireland. I remember that.
Yep.
Remember in that movie, Necessary Roughness, they were the Texas State Fighting Armadillos.
God, you remember even more of the movie than I do, and I love that movie too.
I'm in Texas, and the funny thing, the thing I loved about that movie is that they were like the Texas State Fighting Armadillos. And their big rival was the Southwest Texas Fighting Bobcats, right? Well, Southwest Texas State was a real school in San Marcos.
Oh, yeah.
It turned into Texas State.
Oh, did it really?
Yes. Yeah.
You know your Necessary Roughness history right now.
I'm also a huge Scott Bakula fan. And Sinbad, remember he was in that.
Oh yeah, that's how I can. Scott Bakula, I definitely remember. Sinbad, I definitely remember. Other than Kathy Ireland, I don't know anyone else that was in. I should rewatch that.
In that movie, the guy, remember the receiver that couldn't catch, and then it went in his face mask. He ended up playing that big linebacker from the program. Remember the one Lattimore? Lattimore. And also Lattimore, the guy that was juicing on the program, was in that movie too.
Wow. You remember that movie way. I probably haven't watched it.
Huge. Like I love that. Bob Euchre was in that.
Texas, I guess.
Yeah, dude, Texas football.
Texas football. I mean, Texas football and Texas football movies, Varsity Blues. Now that hit me when I think I was a senior in high school.
Yeah, we were juniors.
Either way, I was like, we were juniors. Yeah. Okay, and I was like, this is football. And listen, I came from not to say a football town in Jersey, but like we were state champions, so football was a big thing. And that's just like, I'm like, this is me. I got cheerleaders and I can do whatever I want. I did get pulled over once and had the officer be like, "Coach wouldn't like this, would he?" I'm like, "No, he wouldn't." And then he get a ticket. That was my Varsity Blues moment.
That's
where I got
awesome.
pulled over. And I'm like, I made it. I got out of a ticket.
Dude, I got passed through high school, like, and I wasn't. I was a starter, but I wasn't like all state player. You know what I mean? But I was a football player. I was there. But yeah, man, I remember Varsity Blues. But now, like, since Friday Night Lights came out, I'm like, Friday Night Lights is a superior Texas football story. Whereas Varsity Blues,
I never saw the film. I watched the series and I loved it, but I never saw the film.
You know what's funny about the film, if I'm not mistaken, the guy who plays Buddy Garrity in the series, the big guy, he plays Connie Britton's husband in the movie. Like Connie Britton is also like the Coach Taylor's wife in the series, is I think Buddy Garrity's wife, if I'm not mistaken. I know they're both in the movie.
Oh, okay.
Because Peter Berg, I think, directed both.
You got your trivia. You got your movie.
I have Friday Night Lights on my bookshelf over there in the.
Okay.
Yeah, and because Bissinger, the guy who wrote the book, is Peter Berg's cousin. I'm telling you.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Fun facts.
I'm
dropping knowledge. This is what this podcast is about. I just drop knowledge.
That's good. I need to be tuning in more often so I can know these things that I can talk about.
You're a Texan. You should know this. You were born in Arlington.
Yes, the 2.5 years. I didn't soak up enough in those 2.5 years.
Well, I mean, you got those football genes. How come you didn't play baseball?
I played baseball until I was probably in. To viewers out there, he's referring to my dad played baseball for the Texas Rangers for like 7 years, one for the Yankees, and then this last year with the Braves. Baseball was boring. And tell you the truth, my dad liked football growing up more than he liked baseball. He just felt like he was too small for football, being like 5'9" receiver. So he kind of focused on baseball. But I was never my pops never pressured me to do anything. I didn't like baseball. It was boring. I don't think I wasn't as good at baseball as I was at football. Yeah. And even my dad liked football better. He was actually here's a little fun fact. And remember the Titans?
Yeah.
The last game, so the little difference between like what happened in reality and what happened in the movie was that the school, what was the school called in the Room of the Titans? What were they called?
I should know this.
Oh gosh, I can't even think of.
I know they were the Titans.
Yeah, the Titans. Whatever. What were they? Either way, the Titans. They weren't the only. They weren't the only desegregated school. Like in the movie, they have them playing all white schools.
Yeah.
But actually, the last game that they would have played was the state championship, and that was against my father's team, which was also desegregated.
T.C. Williams.
Yes, T.C. Williams. And in the movie, you know, they have it playing in this all white school, but they did play another desegregated school. But they did go on to win because my dad said that I think they won, like, my dad knows the final score. I think it was like 21-7. But he said they were a dominant team. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure, is it Bertier? I think he gets in the accident after the game, like after, maybe not directly after the game, but yeah. So movie magic, they made it for a great story. But so my dad was a pretty good football player too. Yeah.
Yeah, because you're pretty good. You're fast, and you're a state champ. Were you a track runner too?
I ran track and football. I was all-state defensive back. And then I played University of Hawaii. I played receiver over there. But man, my whole career has been injury. I had the speed, probably for my size, being 5'10". Yeah. I needed to have more I definitely needed to have more east-west. I had good track speed. Yeah. But I needed to be quicker than I was fast if I were going to see the next level. And I also needed not to be injured. I've been injured my whole life. And
do you, being an athlete, because I deal with this a lot, because when I was in high school, obviously in Texas, my whole goal was to play college football. I spent all my mornings before school in the weight room. I ran track when I didn't need to run track. I wasn't a sprinter by any means, but I just did it to get faster. Mm-hmm. And I look back on it because in my senior year, I tore my shoulder. And it's still an injury that plagues me to this day. Obviously, you know that about your knees, and I'm sure there's other injuries, but there's just the predominant ones that you wake up in the morning and it's like, hi, I'm your football injury.
Yep.
If you could go back, would you have not played sports, or, would you have done something different?
Man, it's tough. So I'm so hard-headed that if I would have went back, I still would have played football. And listen, I had 2 knee surgeries. 2020 was tough on everyone. I had 2 knee surgeries in 2020, which made it even a tougher year for me. And it's all stems from football. Yeah. But it was invaluable what football teaches, teaches kids, or just me, myself. Because I think that the biggest thing, one, you learn what dedication is. Yes. You learn what hard work is. And I think the most important thing, and like I said, you learn teamwork. There's so many things I can go on and on about. But I think the biggest thing is that you learn how to fail. At a young age, you know what being beat does to you, how you feel about it, and then how to react to it.
Absolutely.
And even that's with injuries as well. I've been injured my whole life, and I learned, okay, I'm down. That always helped me focus on English, because I was an English major, and writing and the other things I like. But it also made me figure out what my perseverance was like. It's okay, I'm down, I'm injured, I need to rebuild back up. I need to do these small habits to get better and things like that. So, and it took me to Japan for 5 years. It traveled, it got me free school. Football has blessed me in so many ways. So I don't regret it. I remember someone asked me, would you have your kids play it? And I'm like, I would. I think it's, I think you learn so much from it.
I 100% agree with you on that. I'm a father now, and I'm going to have a little boy, and that question has come up. Awesome. And it is, it's really awesome. It's scary. But one of my best friends down here, he has 2 little boys, and one's really into baseball. Really, this guy never played baseball in his life. But his son just gravitated toward T-ball, and he's getting picked up for all these all-star teams. And his little league team, my friend, he's had neck injuries, just ruptured discs and just injuries, and it led to like just really bad health problems. Now he's finally got a lot of those under control, but that neck stuff is just really bad. He's got like screws and everything in his spine. And we always talk about it's like, no, we're never going to push for football. But now his son is old enough for Pop Warner and the Taifa, basically like what you see in Friday Night Tykes, the Taifa. And all his little buddies in his little league team are like, hey, come play on our team. Come play on our team. And he's like, man, I don't know what to say. You know what I mean? It's and I agree with you about that. Is like the lessons, aside from the injuries, were invaluable. I think that I made it as far as I did in my career and in life. I mean, to be honest, like the failure part, I was never on a good team. Like ever since Pee Wee, I was never on a winning. The most wins we ever had in one season was like maybe 6-4, maybe. But I think it's usually 5-5. We're a 500 team. That was the best. That was 1 year. And so I was never. I remember my 8th grade year, we were 0-8. 7th grade year, we were like we won 3 games, but there was only 16 of us, so we played both ways for Ironman. And then like just everything after that was never won. And I got hurt, and I think the years after that of high school, where any kind of idea of playing college is just out the window. I got real depressed, and I started drinking a lot, and like I thought I was a lot better, but then I realized I wanted to be an actor, and I didn't realize the lessons that I had learned from football, how they would help me in grad school, because there's just so many times in grad school where just simple things, like just simple little bouts of adversity throughout like a scene or in a class, and just people who never dealt with any kind of like adversity, they found it was so hard for them to deal with it. Whereas I'm like, shit, like this sucks, but let me find a way, because like whether you lost, you never gave up. You still went to practice and try to figure out a way to not lose as bad. You know what I mean? Like, you're playing this undefeated team, and it's kind of like, okay, so how are we going to contain this, running back who's getting like 200 yards a game? Like, how are you going to contain that with linemen that are twice our size? You know what I mean? And so it's just like, that has really and truly helped me out. And then the camaraderie and just, that's what I do miss a lot about the sports. The injuries, man, like my shoulders are killing me right now, like killing me.
But and I think if it is like, and listen, I don't have kids, and maybe I would look at it differently. I agree with you. I don't think I would push it, because I didn't come from it. Even my dad never pushed anything on me. But if my kid gravitated towards it, then listen, maybe I'd have to look up more, because I've had concussions. I need to look up probably more science behind it to see what's really going on. But I do think if you are okay with your kid doing football, definitely get them in earlier if they want it earlier, because that's where you learn like how to tackle. You learn form. You learn how to manipulate your body. You have a better, proprioception to the game, so that they're not just putting their head down when they're flying in at 16 years old, and they have, the muscle mass to go with speed. Like you learn form better, and I think that's an important thing. And honestly, kids aren't getting hurt. Like little infants, not infants, but like toddlers, they're not getting hurt. They're not moving fast enough, and there's so many other things that but you definitely learn the game, and I think it's important.
Yeah, no, I agree. I totally agree with that. And it's just when they do get, I mean, the thing is also when you get to junior high, if you're starting to play football in junior high, chances are your coach is probably going to be a has-been high school player. And I mean that with a lot of love. Like there's a lot of guys that they just couldn't, they had bigger dreams, and the passion's there, but maybe not the entire wisdom, about it. They just know how to yell. They know how to do what they mimic, because other coaches were past. I mean, I look back now, and like I was in powerlifting in high school. This is one of the things. And the coach is like, powerlifting is deadlifting, squatting, and benching. And I remember leading up to powerlifting meets, we worked out maybe twice a week. how is that? We never really had percentages down. We never like a simple 5x5 would have been better than anything, but we weren't doing. I just like look back. I was like, man, like they would almost maxing out before a meet.
Oh yeah,
And just awful.
No,
I look
awful.
back. I say how like luckily now I think coaches in like this day and age, they're a little bit more knowledgeable about lifting.
Well, I hope so. I mean, but even on the collegiate level, like the difference between, playing at University High and our strength coach, and then knowing people from Oregon later in life. And in Japan, I had two guys from Oregon. I'm like, oh, they're strength coach, and there's more money. The more money and the bigger the program, the better, I think, staff you're going to get. And I'm like, oh, they know a lot more than what I knew. No, for sure. And everything, man, and this is the worst part. Everything is the same thing as like in high school. It's like, oh, what's your bench? Like the most unimportant, like lift in probably in any sport, really.
Any sport.
In any sport, and that was like so focused on like, everyone's bench. I was so dumb, dumb.
It's like if I could go back in time, like, and then just like this pandemic has been one of those things where it's like I've been watching like a lot of fitness, like YouTube and nutrition YouTube. And I just realized back then, everything was so overcomplicated when you could have just eaten chicken and some vegetables. And that's really all you needed, or like some meat and like, it really didn't have to be like counting macros per se as a high school kid. Like, people, I mean, unless you're really trying to get to some like specific bodybuilding show. But even then, like I worked with bodybuilders and I look back now and I'm like, that was unhealthy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if I could just go back, it was like, you know what, maybe I should have squatted more or lunged more. Like, unilateral leg movements would have helped my lower back and my glutes more. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I think it's like, I could have probably been a better football player if I had done maybe a little bit more leg exercises.
Oh no, I think about that too, but I think we're all products of information and knowledge, and we know more just in science now than we do, 5 years ago, definitely 10 years ago. For us, what are we talking, 15, 20 years ago?
20.
Yeah. And that's why
we graduated 2001, dude.
Oh, geez. Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
20 years ago.
Man.
What's good is that my reunion's probably canceled due to COVID. And I'm like, thank you, because I haven't done anything in a long time.
Well, that's good for me too. I realized that I was my class president my junior and senior year. And someone told me probably like, I think leading up to our 10th year, what it would have been a decade since graduating, was that like the class president is responsible for the reunion. And I remember laughing because I'm like, I'm not what like that's not my job. I don't know. I'm not gonna do that. And luckily I had a co-president. Because we both wanted to not lose, so we decided to run together. And I don't think she took care of our reunion either. So
man, like I agree with you. Like I would never want to do that either. I mean, the thing is, luckily with the internet, you talk to the people you want to keep in touch with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's really it. And it's just, I still like all my high school friends. Like there's a few that I keep in touch with. And like, it doesn't mean like I hate a lot of people. Like if I run into them, like, oh man, it'll be great to see them. But there's a lot that I really would not go out of my way to say hello to, and there's some that I've reconnected with. And like, I love that I reconnected with them. But like, if you look back at how you were in high school, like, man, we were stupid, or maybe not stupid. Maybe you're just on a different path. And, there's like certain elements you just don't want to associate with anymore.
Yeah. And not only that, but I think I think different personalities, I think certain people can really enjoy that. And I'm not knocking that because I think that's just what we value might be different and one's not worse or better. But I hate having the conversation of, hey, what are you up to? Hey, what are you doing? So like, and then a reunion to me is that like times 1,000 with people that I'm never going to then talk to again.
Yes, dude.
And it's just like, oh, that's so much energy.
It's like I expected more from him, you know? It's just like, oh.
And then shoot, hey, I do think about that. I'm like, how much of it is because I don't feel like I think, you know, a lot of it is that, I'm sure. Like,
I feel
I'm
like
not
that.
where I feel like I should be, or where,
Yeah.
where people might think I would be, or things like that. And I think it's less. I think maybe like 10 years ago it would have been more of that. Right now it's kind of like I've accepted where I am, and I like who I am, and that's the most important part. And
that really
I'm
is.
doing things, yeah, and I'm doing things that, like, you know, this 2020, as tough as it's been for me and for everyone, it's been the farthest I've been in my career, and where listen, I came out here and I'm getting paid to write, and I'm
you're further ahead than most, man.
Yeah, and I'm really grateful. I have to remind myself that
you're on the verge of a big break. You know what I mean? Like it's you. I mean, we've been on a verge of a big break for about like how long have I known you? 6, 7 years now. No, but like truly though, that big break is just one meeting away. You know, it's just, you know, I've read your scripts, and even from your sketches to your features, like it's just amazing stuff. And
thank you.
No, and I don't mean that. I'm not like, you know, I'm sure people have listened to my podcast, and I've said that to you too. Like, you know, people I admire about like the work that they're doing, but like truly, my podcast right now is people on the verge of very big things. Like in about 2 years, a number of the people I've had on this podcast, you're going to hear from in a big way. If you go back to like, what is it? Episode like 6, 7, Robbie Ramos episode. That was way back in August. The dude, it was announced he's on that show Heels on Stars. He's one of the recurring guys, you know. It's about wrestling. Nice. So he's on the verge of something huge, talented actor. And I'm like, I knew it, you know, and everybody is really there. And you stay organized, man. Like you I think you're doing, from what I spoke to Tex, our buddy Tex.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's like, it seems like y'all will be working, and you know, I think our not failures, but our projects in the past are going to help us with projects in the future, if that makes sense. Do you know what I mean? Like we're going to regroup, we're going to reunite stronger with better hard drives, and it's going to happen. I believe it, man.
And I think that's what I think. A lot of my mindset is not even to. It's to. I guess it's to look at manage my expectations. Being out here, and honestly during the pandemic and what I've been through this past year, it's definitely set me on a course to just you have to really just enjoy the day to day and the work. And I haven't. This year has been, I've been the most thrown off as far as my productivity, my confidence, my motivation, all that. And it's definitely left me for a little bit, and I'm slowly, and even though I've been working it, I'm getting it back. And it is not to, I don't think about, you know, oh, this one meeting or this one producer or this one project can be the thing. And I'm sure you can't do that either as an actor, right? Like, oh, this is it. Cause then you put too much expectations on it. And it's really, this past, I guess, you know, 12 months has really been about, it's really been about the everyday habits and behaviors that I need to enjoy and be grateful for, and not think about, oh, this pilot that I'm writing right now, it needs to be all it, because if it isn't, then, you know, it's not going to work out. It's really just enjoy. I like writing, and I like telling stories, and I like being creative, and make sure I handle my life and all the shit I need to be doing every day, so I can fulfill that creativity and fulfill that writing, and not worry about whether it's going to pop me off or take me here or do whatever. It's just trying to really just enjoy life. And that comes with being creative. It also comes with connecting with friends. It also comes with connecting with family, and it's put things in perspective. And it's still tough to listen. It's tough because I handed in a pilot. I had 3 weeks to write a pilot. It's just like a couple months ago. it wasn't a long time. 3.5 weeks is not a long time to write a pilot for anyone who says, but that's what the kind of deadline was. That's what the payment schedule was. And I handed it in, and I felt like it was good for 3.5 weeks. And I had a note and I was like, all right, don't have expectations. Like, there's going to be a rewrite. I already know that. But I had a notes call with the two producers, and boy, that was a tough call. It probably knocked me down for about a week, even though I know that I get notes and things like that. And then I had to regroup. And honestly, we talked about like perseverance and taking a knockdown and learning how to like step back up. It's like, okay, I just got injured, or I just whatever it was. I took a hit, and now it's like regroup. What did I do wrong? Things like that, and relook at it. And then, you know, since then it's been successful, and we've moved forward with the rewrite and things like that. So that's
hard, man. Like that's one thing about writers is that I admire, is that you can deal with that kind of like the notes, like meaning as it's not the criticism, you know, like constructive criticism, because it's on like your knowledge or, you know, your skill set. Like for me with acting, if I get told no, then I'm used to that. You know, I had like the group of friends where, you know, my friend was the guy who got all the girls and I didn't, you know what I mean? So I was always rejected, you know, and my friends got the girls. So I was already used to being told no, and more of a face-to-face sort of thing. I'm more prepared for that mentally.
Yeah.
But for me, I had an experience in college where a couple professors made me feel stupid about writing. Like they literally made me just feel dumb, and I feel dumb to this day. So when I'm trying to write, like when you said you had that call with, you know, the notes, that would just tear me apart. Like I'm trying to write a production Bible, like getting things together and writing a pilot. And I think about it as like, man, I'm dumb. Like this looks stupid. And like, and then it's one of those things. It's like, no, just do it. You know what I mean? Like, if it's dumb, I could just send it to you and you can help me with notes, because that's what you do all the time anyway.
And I love that. And I think, and listen, it's tough. It's tough to, you know, remove yourself or your own work or energy you put into it from the work. But I think what helps me, and it's something that I always get back to, even though sometimes I might be thrown off, is that like, I want the best product. This script that I wrote, it needs to be the best product. So any notes that I get, certain ones are like, okay, I can see it that way. That will heighten the script, or will make it better. That character will be better because of that. And it separates it from yourself. And eventually, like I said, at the end of the day, we all want the best product. So sometimes I'm going to push back on a note, like, you know what, that's not going to give us the best product. And definitely thinking about it like that helps me. Like, and I think that's for any writer, not to have an emotional response to notes or things like that. One, I think it's great to have a writer's room or someone like, you know, we've shared stuff before. So you're used to just feedback, and it's just like, listen, this is information to possibly make this script, this product better. And that's all it is. And that's all it really should be. And that's, don't take it personally. Don't think about like, oh, I'm a shitty writer, because it's about the product, you know? But like I said, it's tough to always have that in the front of the mind, but always go back there. And I think it's you'll have a better product because of it.
You wrote down a whole bunch of good notes for me that helped the Kings and Chronicles intro for my book. I have that.
And that was like
it was a little while back, man. So I always run it by you, because I know that you'll be very constructive, not just because I remember in grad school, when they would open it up for like, you know, like we'd do a scene, and then the teacher would open it up for the room, and like everybody in the peanut gallery had a comment about something. And at some point I'm like, are you just looking for something to not like, or is it just going to be nitpicky? And with your notes, I feel like it's more like there's a purpose, you know, because it sets up, you know, the other thing. Cause like the note will like, pick up from, you know, the next line or something like that. It's like, how does this make sense here? Like, what does this mean? Or like, what is
and I really do. I you know, with you or with text, we're talking about like, I love, especially if it's someone I care about or someone that's passionate about, or they're a good writer. It can be a mixed match of all those. I think note giving is so giving and receiving is such a good complementary exercise routine, or whatever you want to call it, because listen, it makes me a better writer because
Yeah.
I don't me writing. I can't always pick out the things that I am writing. It's like a golf swing. I don't know always if my head's down or my hips are swiveling. I can't focus on all those things.
Yeah.
But reading someone else's things, I can pick it apart more in a good way, in a positive way. And I'll know like, oh, you know, and it's also like, yeah, don't be an asshole giving notes. Like they have to be constructive, because if they're not constructive, then why are you even doing it? Right. Like,
well, the situation that happened to me in college and undergrad was that I had done an essay, and I you know, admit I was a football player in high school. I didn't take my English classes serious, and I lost a good amount of skills that I should have developed after my sophomore year because I got lazy. And when I went to undergrad, like I had to write an essay, and apparently this professor was just on a rampage, and he put my essay up on the projector, and he put a paper above it to kind of hide the name, but he left it open just so people could see who the name was. And he's like, oh, like, and it was like one of those sarcastic, like, oh, my bad. He didn't even know whose paper it was, but he just wanted everyone to know the name of the person.
Oh, geez.
And then across the paper on this projector, he's like, please don't do this to me again.
Wow.
Yeah. And I blank out on his name.
That's
since
enough
then, I have been so self-conscious about my writing. And then like another professor, you know, within the same semester, I had written a short story. There's two other professors, and this was a creative writing course. We were supposed to write a short story, and my professor didn't want to read it because it was 20 pages. And she's like, well, you turned in a monstrosity. I don't know what I'm going to do with that. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Like, seriously, like, what the hell are you doing? And then the last strike was that this other professor was a failed novelist. You know, he has novels, but he just, I think he could only find the one job and it happened to be in South Texas. It wasn't his dream job. He went to NYU as an uppity guy and he just talked down to people. And all his response was read more books. And I gave him my paper. Remember, it was like 20 some pages, 20 pages. I think it was 26 pages to be honest. And I said, here's my paper. Can you just like read my short story to see what you think? And thinking he's going to take it home to read it, you know, and then come back and scribble some notes or whatever. The dude stops right then and there. And he just gets it. And he's just like, he's not even reading it. He's just acting like he's scanning through it. Like if he's a computer, 26 pages in like 5 minutes. And he's like, just read more books. I'm like, come on, man. No one took me serious. And it wasn't like writing with you and like, you know, doing the stuff with the Tom on the Wall and like Cage Bird and all that. Like people started taking me a little bit more serious. So I started getting a little bit more pride in my writing. And I think like my goal is to actually get something and fully write it and get it out there. That's like whatever, like you said, like there's no, if it's my book, then I don't care if it's a bestseller. I just want to say that I did it. And, you know, I can send a copy to those professors, you know, with the big fuck you, you know, like it's just like, and you know, that's just like one of those goals. Like for me, like, when it comes to writing or even acting, man, it's like people just don't think people can do it. They're just haters.
And there's always gonna, and it's you guys should make sure. And I know you know this already. I'm kind of more not speaking to you about it. It's just that like they have to just be, and they can only take up so much energy. You can only give them so much energy. They shouldn't even. It might affect you. Realize, okay, it affected me, but it's because more about me. It's not about them. Boom, get them out of your head.
Yeah.
And I think the one thing that I've learned this past couple years is that like I'm a decent writer. This is my own, you know, opinion. I'm a decent writer, but I need to be. And I think I was actually talking to Andreas about this. What's more important, especially for a script, not necessarily maybe a novel or things like that, is that I need to prioritize storytelling over writing. Like, I can string together sentences and I can be a decent writer, but be a better storyteller. Because that's the most important part is looking at, are your characters have arc? Does your story have an arc? Is it moving people? Is what you're saying relevant? You know, are people going to connect with it? And like I said, there is a difference between, I think, being a great writer and being a great storyteller. And I think that's something I've realized. Not too late. I just realized it in the last couple of years. It's definitely just okay. Pay attention to storytelling a lot more than than my writing, because that
Yeah.
can really obsess me, and
Yeah.
that can like just that can delay me.
I get that. I get that totally. I think that's it's one of those skills that we all have that, or one of those things that we all think about where you are doing something in particular, like writing, and
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to sound stupid because all through childhood you're corrected on grammar.
Mm-hmm.
Even on freaking like Facebook arguments, you can be arguing someone about this and that, like it's a political argument, and the one time who somebody misspells there or
Yeah.
your without the
Yeah.
apostrophe re, oh
Yeah.
zing, it's apostrophe re, ha ha ha. You know,
Yeah.
it's like that's the zing, where it's like this person
Yeah.
could have had like this beautiful like thing, and you're typing in a hurry on a phone, probably like misspelling everything.
Yeah.
But the one thing, and that's a lot of stuff that people think about, you know, but they overlook the fact that you just wrote all these beautiful points about why that other
Mm-hmm.
person is wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I get it. Like, you know, you get like the dumbest thing. It's I get with acting, like, it's kind of like, am I saying the line right? And one of the things that I learned in my classes that I've been taking is like, man, you're given how many days to prepare for an audition?
Mm-hmm.
When I was at Equinox, you remember that, like, I would work from till close. I would get my
Mm-hmm.
audition like at 5:30. I would start work at 4. And then I would work till 11. I would get home at maybe 12:30 at night, and I would stay up till about 2:30 or 3 studying.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then the audition would probably be the next day. And there's like 3 pages, 4 pages, and I still have to be off book. And like I spent so much time trying to be word perfect that sometimes I would lose the scene. And one of the things I'm learning, like it's also with your writing, is like, man, you can always edit, you know, grammar.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Exactly.
You can always edit grammar.
Exactly.
But if you lose that story, like if I'm in a scene and, man, the line can be, you know, like, don't go that way. You know, that's the exact line. I was like, don't go there. If I say that, then still saying the same thing. But if the inflection is there and they're telling the story, then they're going to, you know what? I've been on set so many times where the script supervisor has to come up to me and say, hey, Jorge, the line is actually, and it's like, get my best take. You're going to get my best take. You know what I mean? It happens all the time, but as long as you get that story down, like, you got it. And I get it. You got it.
Yeah.
I mean,
and exactly. And I'm sure that, man, directors or so many directors want you to be like perfect with it, or so many writers want you to be perfect. And I guess that's their way into it. I think as a writer, I don't think I'm super precious with my lines, even lines of dialogue. Like if I'm watching an actor do it and they try it a different way, I think I would be the one that'd be like, you know, okay, that's more comfortable for them. That sounds good.
Yeah.
Unless something really needed to be said, I think I would definitely like. But it's also because I think I lightweight have crushes on all actors, because I think what you guys do is just amazing. Like, but truly, I think I think it's just, man, it's the people that I watch that can. And listen, of course it has to do with the writing and directing and things like that. But when I'm watching someone and they are making me feel something, and they're just a they're just a person faking a role.
Yeah.
Oh man, that is. I think that's probably what really, if I'm being honest, got me into it, is actors.
Yeah.
Because, like, I'm watching someone just make me cry or make me like feel terrible or so many emotions, and I'm like, that's power.
Yeah.
And then it's after that, it's like, oh, what's my strength? I'm like, oh, it would be writing that, not acting that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that I get that. And if actors can do that with just a small scene, like Modern Family was really good at doing that. Like the last few minutes, they just know how to like pull the heartstrings. Like, it's a silly show throughout, you know, and that was kind of like a different kind of, what is it? I think a single cam kind of, you know, documentary style comedy.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit more serious, but they would pull out that drama at the end. Or Rosa and I watch Mom, you know, and
I don't watch that,
dude. Like, it has, I mean, at one time, at one point, I mean, Allison Janney obviously is like Academy
Oh,
Award.
geez. Okay.
Octavia Spencer was on there for a while, and it's just like
Yeah.
all of these heavyweight actresses, and they are on the silly sitcom, and it's funny,
Mhm.
but man, they just pull out these moments, and it's like a silly sitcom, but like they're so good at what they do that there's just
Yeah.
moments that just pull you in, and you're crying within a few seconds. There's a scene where like Jamie Presley, because
Oh,
it's
that
about
talk about my crush.
crushes, man,
That's a
and
childhood crush for me.
she's still got it. She's still got
Yeah,
it.
she was on the cover of Maxim with her short hair. I was
Yeah,
a freshman in college. Man, I was
yeah.
in love with her. Anyway, sorry. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
no, she still got it. But they so the premise of the show is like they're all alcoholics, or in AA meetings, so they're all like users, and they've been clean, they're sober, and they're trying to maintain sobriety. So it's like a lot of funny stuff in that, but it's a lot of serious stuff. And Jamie Presley finally found a relationship that she likes, where the guy is not abusing her or anything like that. It's like Will Sasso, the comedy guy, and he's just a funny big guy. He was like
I'd have to look
yeah,
him up.
if you'll recognize him. So he's a big dude. He was on Mad TV for a long time, and
Okay.
he had a beer and he got drunk, and
Mhm.
she just said, I can't be around you if you're going to be drinking. And she was going through this whole spiel, and within this little speech where she was trying to break up with him, I'm spoilers, you know, she just broke down crying, and I was just like, oh my God. And he's just like finally found a girl of his dreams. I mean, like, if you look at him, you look at her, it's like,
Yeah.
and she's saying, I can't have you in my life if you're going to be drinking, so we need to break up. And he's like, or I could just stop drinking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was just as
Yeah.
simple as that. And it just broke us. Like, it is a beautiful
Oh,
scene.
jeez.
And this was like the button of the episode. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And the rest of the
Mhm.
episode's silly. There's a lot of like, tongue-in-cheek humor. It's hilarious. But they just have these moments. And I think that's what draws me into it as well, where
Oh yeah.
I would love to be able to do that.
Mhm.
I'm
Mhm.
hoping that that's the one thing, like you're writing for other people at some
Mhm.
point. You have to do that for a while. And I'm basically doing, I mean, if you look at a lot of stuff that I've done, it's, there's a few things I'm really proud of, and there's a lot more that
Mhm.
I'm not, I mean, and it's just, you gotta work your way into it. But at some point, that's what we're going to do, is like,
Yeah.
we keep doing it. You're going to write something for me, and we're
Mhm.
going to move the world.
Yeah.
there's
We're
going
gonna
to
make
be,
everyone.
there's going to be two young guys or girls or whatever.
Mhm.
And they're watching this is like, you want to know their story? There's a podcast from like 15 years ago when they were nobodies.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there you go. And I probably have like maybe 100 downloads by then, dude. Yeah.
Well, hopefully. Yeah.
Hopefully,
That's.
dude. But it's like, I think we were talking about that earlier about the podcast. It's really is an uphill battle too.
No, I'm sure. But I mean, I think it's so, like I said, I've thought about doing it, and I realize it's just because like I need to, being isolated, I need to like express shit.
Yeah.
Like and I wasn't really doing it through my writing for a long
Yeah.
time, just because I was in a funk or whatever I was in. It took me out of it for a while, and I'm like, hey, I
Yeah.
need a podcast just to be able to just to express. And I think that's what, like, whether you're an artist or creative, like, you need that type of outlet. So I'm happy you have this, and I'm happy you have me on, because
Yeah.
it's just connecting with a buddy and being able to talk about shit and express
Yeah.
shit. And
And
I
that's
feel
the
I'm in a
thing.
good place to do it.
A lot of people. Okay, so when I started my podcast, it was around the time Joe Rogan just got his
Mm-hmm.
$100 million deal with Spotify.
Mm.
And like last podcast on the left was getting their exclusive deal with Spotify. And the pandemic was shutting everything down. So like everybody started podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
But what it is that if you start a podcast, and it's just like anything else, if
Mm-hmm.
you're starting it just for fame and thinking that
Mm-hmm.
you're going to get $100 million deal, then you're out of your mind.
Yeah.
At any right now, I think I heard or saw something this week that there are 1 million podcasts registered on iTunes. 1 million that I'm competing with. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And the fact is, like, a lot of people see these kinds of podcasts. Like, you see, like, everybody has, like, at one point everybody has a true crime podcast, you know, like they see
Mm-hmm.
Last Podcast on the left, they see Sword and Scale, they see, like, you know, True Crime Garage, or My Favorite Murder, and like everybody wants to hop in because they see that success and these people got book deals and whatever. I was like, man, I remember listening to Last Podcast on the left like 5-6 years ago. They've been doing this for a long time. Joe Rogan got his $100 million deal, but like Joe Rogan started doing
he's been at it
11 years. Joe Rogan was also a comedian. Joe Rogan was also the face of the UFC. Joe Rogan has a bigger platform.
Yeah.
I don't have that. You know what? Ideally, what could happen is like I audition for something, and then, you know, people know who I am. So like, oh, he has a podcast, and then we go back. Or one of y'all get famous. One of my guests get famous, and then like some people search and they find it, and they're like, oh, this is very interesting.
Yeah.
But if you do it with the intentions that I have, is just getting to talk and catch up with you, because I don't know, like I was telling you before hitting record, is and people, if you're watching or listening, you've been listening to these episodes, like I've said this, like, I don't know if I was going to live. Like, we didn't know what, during all this uncertainty of COVID and, you know, just every craziness that was happening in the world, you know, which is still continuing to this day. It's like, you don't know if you're going to talk to these people. You don't know how they're doing. Like, we can feel sorry for ourselves and get depressed, but like, man, like, this is a perfect time to catch up with those that you haven't caught up with. And I mean, you know, one of these conversations might reach that one person that just needs to hear it. And if it's that one download that I get from that one person that hears it, then I'm happy. I'm not expecting much. I don't even promote this as much as I should. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not, I remember like when we did like our like GoFundMe, or was it whatever it was,
was it a Kickstarter? No, Indiegogo.
It was Indiegogo, I think. Indiegogo. We never did GoFundMe. I think it's Indiegogo.
I think so, yeah.
Or even like for like Tom on the Wall or anything like that. Like, I remember trying to like plug social media. I was just like, man, with this, I told Rosa, I was like, I'm not gonna plug it like I did. Like, I'm gonna plug the one episode and maybe a follow-up plug later on, but like, I'm not going to let it consume me. I'm just going to let the conversations roll. And that's what I think you should do. Like, if man, just talk to people. Like, it's just a way to do it. And like, you never know, like I said, if one conversation you have with somebody is going to open up the door for somebody else. It's like, you know, like just think about it. There could be some kid, you know, in Iowa or in New Mexico right now, they stumble upon this on YouTube or on I'm also on iTunes and Spotify, and they hear it, and then they see us as like, wow, like, these two handsome fellas are creatives, and I can do it too because I'm handsome as well. And
exactly.
Boom. You know what I mean? Because I mean, like if you know, I don't know. I think that the fear is always there, like thinking like, is it going to be a waste of time? And I'm married with a kid. So the one thing that I've been very blessed with and fortunate of is that of all the projects I've done, because Rosa knows that I always have something I'm doing, you know, like I was like, oh, you're going to do a short, you're going to do another web series, you're going to do that. And like, God bless her. Like, she thinks I'm crazy most of the time. She's like, so what's this one this time? You know what I mean? It's always like something new. But this one is actually, you know, she's been the most supportive of. And really, like, we don't like I said, like I told her, I'm like, I'm not going to ask you to like pump it out or promote it. Like, if she does, she does. You know what I mean? And because she will promote it, whether she you know, watches it or listens to it or whatever it is. But it's really, you got to do it because you want to. There's no expectation. No, that was like a long-winded response.
Well, no, and I think that's exactly what, like, it's, man, life is managing your expectations. That's all life really is. And I think if you, it sounds like you're going in it the best way possible, where you enjoy it, and that's all you really can. There's no competition of a million podcasts. It doesn't matter. You're just you're doing it because you enjoy it,
Yeah.
fucking keep on doing it, regardless of if
Yeah.
it's a podcast or if it's writing or just whatever. Just do it if you enjoy it, and then you'll be successful because it gives you something. It rewards you or fulfills you in some type of way. So
yeah, it's also in the time of pandemic.
Can you
hear me now?
Oh, I can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay, man. Sometimes like when I tap
There, I lose the sound.
Oh, gotcha.
I'm getting my my equipment is getting better with time. Like if you look at the first few episodes, it was awful. Like if you look at them.
I want the angle though. I want the angle of your camera to be I want to see those pictures more. I want to see those beautiful baby pictures more.
Look at that.
Yeah, there we go.
I should just do that. That'll get
beautiful.
Yeah, that was
there. Like get them in there.
Yeah, I mean, I should bring the kid in here. You can see her. So she's not a little one anymore.
Oh, well, I mean, I'm so grateful. I really do enjoy both you and Rosa posting, because I like. I mean, you know, I don't always reach out, or we don't always communicate as much as we could or we should or whatever you want to say. But I do like Instagram for that. Like, it is a nice time to be like, oh, Jorge's having fun with his kid. The Christmas pictures or those were adorable. Those
are fun. They're a nightmare, but they were fun. Like, it's just, man, it's amazing what the camera catches and what the camera does not catch. And we were able to get, I'm telling you, man, our child is very empowered. Let's just say that. Like, she's very energetic, and she marches to the beat of her own drum. I'm fascinated by her. Like, she can go to a place that she doesn't know, and she went to the dentist for the first time. Man, she walked in there like she owned that office. She was walking behind the desk, saying hello to people. She was trying to high five other little kids. She had her little mask on and everything. God. Yeah, man, it was a trip. But I'm there trying to chase around, because COVID protocol is like, okay, wait in the car, and then they send you the electronic paperwork. So I'm there filling it out. And then I go inside and they give me a stack of papers of filling out the same exact thing. I'm like, what was the point of filling out the stuff in the car? And then I'm trying to chase this kid around, and she just wants a balloon. And so she's kicking her balloon and like trying to talk to the ladies like behind the desk, and then see other kids getting their teeth clean. It was a nightmare. But you know, it's fun, man. It's really, I think it's a life-changing experience. Kids.
Like, I don't doubt that.
It really is. And it changes like the perspective of things. I think that's not as in goal. I still want to work. I still want to be a series regular, but it's kind of like the type of work, you know, I want to do. I'm a little bit more focused on that. And I think that's why I started writing something a little bit more family focused, a little kind of like a love letter to my girls and my little guy coming out. Because the original idea was to write this series of like shorts, not a web series, but like just a series of like little like shorts. And the last one, like, we weren't even planning on having another one. But in my mind, I was like, wouldn't it be awesome if it was on the last one? Like, Rosa builds up all this stress. You could see her like getting stressed out about bills or whatever, like in every episode. And then finally, you know, there's this blowout fight that we have. But then like under the backyard, we have all these lights. Like, it's really cute. It's like, I don't know, it's in my head. And, you know, she reveals that she's pregnant. And it's like, oh, you know, that's fun, you know, but she wasn't even pregnant yet. We weren't even thinking about it. And then she ends up pregnant. And then the guy helping me, my buddy Manny, that was helping me shoot it, like, he went back to the Dominican Republic, and I was like, oh, I couldn't shoot it.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh, that's like he's there for
he's working. He's got some work over there. His girlfriend teaches over there, so she's on a contract for like a year or so at a school over there. And so, you know, we're able to shoot two. The other one's being edited, and I'll send that to you.
Okay.
Nice. You'll get a feel for it. And if you're watching and listening, check back with us in a year, because this is going to be huge. So huge. Like, I seriously, we're gonna probably have sponsorship readings like throughout the podcast, through like, what is it, Blue Chew, or is it that like over the counter Viagra?
Oh yeah, I've seen the commercials for that.
I hear that on a lot of podcasts. It's like Blue Chew or something like that, or Magic Spoon cereal, the keto cereal.
Oh, I haven't even heard of that. I there's so much out there.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, well, this was amazing. I'm really glad we got to catch up, and we talked about everything from writing, from the pandemic to Texas high school football movies, and life.
Your extensive knowledge of them, and my suffering.
You know what? I didn't realize how much I did know about them until this conversation. Like, I think that's the thing I need to put on my special skills on my resume. So I'm going to probably go to my Actors Access right now and update that right now.
That's actually, I'd read that and think, that's a funny guy.
Yeah, this guy knows a lot. I mean, I have some Texas high school football facts too.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like Austin Westlake just won the state championship, which is where Drew Brees came out of.
All right. See, look, you know facts.
I'm telling you, and the coach from Austin Westlake, his dad was the coach of South Lake Carroll, or is it the other way around? Yeah, no, South Lake Carroll's coach was the son, and Westlake's coach was the dad.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they played each other in the state championship.
Oh, that's
crazy!
Pretty cool.
Yeah,
that is cool. Yeah,
that's amazing. It's a cool story. But yeah, man. So where can we find you on social media?
I Instagram, J Ian Sample, at J Ian Sample. Yeah, no, I really, man, I don't post much. You can find me there. You're gonna see. I have an interesting relationship with Instagram where it's one of the things where I know what it's for, meaning like I post something and need validation on something, because that's all really Instagram is. So usually it's something I'll post that I think is funny, and I want other people to like it to make me feel like, okay, I'm funny. Yeah. Or I need to be validating my success at something, and I'm like, hey, look what I've done. People like it. Look, like it's like, you know, that we talked about the high school reunion of posting and, of not needing that validation. Like, oh, I'm doing stuff. Hey guys.
Or do you see
like it, look at it, I'm doing stuff.
Or like you see a lot of high school friends on social media, and they'll post a picture of something, like they just got a house or a car, and it's like, so we did a thing.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Yeah. So, but
we did a thing. You should just start posting those things and like just put like mundane things. And it's like, oh, I did a thing. It's like a before and after of your dishes. You know what I mean?
Oh,
or like you made a sandwich.
Yeah.
You just have like a loaf of bread and like peanut butter and jelly. And then the next picture is like the slide, and it's just a made sandwich. Like, so I did a thing.
To jazz up my boring ass life, that sounds actually amazing. I probably should do that.
Yeah, no, seriously. I think I'm going to do that. But no, this has been great. This has been like a conversation that, we should have had a long time ago. And if you are watching or listening, you are probably on my YouTube channel at Jorge Chapa. You can always look it up under Jorge's Isolation Podcast. You'll see my beautiful face, as well as on Instagram at Jorge's Isolation Podcast. And be sure to go to iTunes, Spotify, I'm on Google Play. I think I'm on iHeartRadio as well. I think Pandora. You know what? This.
You're in all the places.
Joe Rogan better watch his ass. You know.
Yeah.
I'm catching up. You know, that guy said he got like hundreds of millions of downloads like every month, and I'm like,
oh wow,
that's nice.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know if people would even find me that interesting, but it's interesting. I don't even know if people even know what he's talking about, if they're like from around the world, you know, because a lot of it's like very like US centric, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
So go ahead, go to iTunes, give me a good review. YouTube, just hit that subscribe button, and you should go to every one of the episodes and just like download them and give it a little thumbs up and give me a follow. So thank you everybody for joining me. Ian, thank you again. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. Have a good one. Stay safe and be kind to everyone.